I do laugh that most of my sports knowledge comes from watching 2 whole seasons, binge-watching Ted Lasso. But what I do know is that the best coaches aren't on the playing field. They're out looking for the best players. They're out looking at what it takes to make that team better and to get them to the top of the leaderboard. See, I don't know anything about sport. That is their job. They're looking for the players and the strategy that will move the team forward exponentially. And that, my friends, is you in your business. You as the CEO, not you as the store manager, not you as the employee, you as the CEO. Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you're looking to get more sales, more customers, master your marketing, and ultimately take control of your retail or e-commerce business, then you're in the right place. I'm Selena Knight, a retail growth strategist and multi-award-winning store owner whose superpower is uncovering exactly what your business requires to move to the next level. I'll provide you with the strategies, the tools, and the insight you need to scale your store. All you need to do is take action. Ready to get started? Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. What a year, right? Oh my goodness. Hopefully you've had a time to work through the rush that is the holiday season, and you're getting a chance to just kick back, have a little breather before it all starts again. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this has been a huge year of growth for our business. I have made lots of new friends. I joined a business community, a paid business community, which has been honestly, literally life-changing. Yes, I've met new friends, but I'm hanging out with a lot of different people who really challenge my thought process and just what I want out of life and what I want from myself. So that in and of itself was probably being one of the best investments that I have made. But also, I joined, if you listen to the podcast, you'll know, or if you're following me on Facebook, I joined a Facebook group of ladies in our local area, and I've been going out and meeting new friends there. Like, I really feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm enjoying life again. Like, it gets really hard, right? Business gets really hard, but it has been this huge period of growth for our business. And I feel like even though we're still growing, it's kind of getting to the point where I'm not there 100%. Like, I don't have to be the entire driving force, which is awesome. It's actually quite liberating. But I know at this time of year, we quite often sit back and reflect on what's happened. We've looked at where we've come from, where we're going to go to, things that worked, things that didn't work. And probably if you're like me, you also think about how you've stepped up as a leader. And maybe you don't think about it. Maybe I'm just that weird person who that's how I think. But I am sure, regardless of whether you think about this or not, that your skills as a leader have definitely increased. I mean, how could they not? You have had to weather so many storms in the last couple of years. The pandemic, even just the growth, the explosion of e-commerce and how that changes how we market our businesses and how we conduct business, and the speed of technology that's come in. I mean, as a leader, you've been probably through in the last couple of years what I would say is maybe 5 to 10 years worth of regular, CPI growth. Like, it just the world has changed. And with growth comes skills. And sometimes we've had to learn those skills. Sometimes maybe we've had them innately, but they've come out. And sometimes you may have felt like you had to just go and rock in the corner. I know I have certainly felt like that several times this year, where I laugh about it now, but where I've literally got the job ads out going, I don't want to do this anymore. But realistically, I don't even know what I'm qualified to do out there. And I love what I do. It's just there are always those periods when you maybe lack the confidence or something happens that really knocks you about. I know that, I hired quite a few people this year and some of them didn't work out. And so that's emotionally draining. Finding somebody, bringing them on board, keeping them accountable, and then finding out that they're not the right person. It doesn't mean they didn't have the right skills, but they didn't have the right culture, I'll say, like in air quotes, to fit in with our business. And we work really fast. So we often work to a lot of deadlines. Our team is used to working fast, and we've had literally people pull out and say, I can't do this. I like to be extremely methodical and take my time and do things the way that I like to do them. And that's fine. That's just not always the right person for us, and certainly not for the positions that we hired for. We needed dynamic. We needed, people who can keep up with the pace. And I feel like we've got a good team right now. Funnily enough, and this is kind of where this whole podcast is going today, is sometimes what is right for now is not always right for the future. And so sometimes you have to hire for, or you have to do, not even just hiring, sometimes you have to do things that are right for now. And I'm thinking here, the first thing that comes to my mind outside of hiring is technology. Sometimes you have to do what's right for now. And that might be starting off with an e-commerce platform that maybe doesn't have all the bells and whistles if you've never done e-commerce before, if you're a bricks and mortar store. But that doesn't mean that it's always going to be the same. And that doesn't mean you aren't going to outgrow what you've already got. Like there's always going to be a next level for you. I know for us, we had to change our CRM. We had one kind of email platform, but it didn't manage our clients. And we were constantly trying to duct tape everything together. And it's probably taken us a year to build out that new CRM. And to be honest, we are still doing things to it as we discover that we need, it's got new features, or there's stuff that we need to know about you guys or about ourselves. There's stuff we have to track. I mean, personally, I have to say that my role as the CEO in this business has just become so much more accountable. I have always been very laissez-faire, kind of, we'll get it done, we'll do it. But now that I have other people in the business and we're working with a fractional CMO company, everything is data-driven, which means I have to make sure that the data is there so that the money that I'm spending is actually getting me accurate returns. So yes, I've always had this skill, but I maybe haven't been using it. And I've had to learn a lot of things as well. That concept of what's right for now might not be right for the future got me thinking about a podcast that I did where I think it was called, I don't actually remember the title, but I'm going to actually dip into the archives and bring it out for you. But I talked about how you outgrow average. I think that might have been what it was called. But I did this podcast about how when you grow, you have to leave some things behind. And it actually, this was surprising. I was going through a very challenging time in business when I wrote this. So it was kind of a cathartic. So take that into account. It was kind of cathartic as I was recording it. But when I recorded it, it actually prompted one of my team, who I loved dearly, to put their hand up and say, I think you were talking about me. And I didn't know what to think at the time. I was gutted on one hand because I love them and I love everything they do. But on the other hand, it was right that what's right for now is not always right for the future. And when you grow, you're going to have to leave some things behind. And we had the discussion about how we were kind of going in different paths, and the next level of where my business was going to was not a level that they wanted to get to. And so that, I mean, yay, it's great as a leader to know that your team love you this much and they listen to your podcast, but also just the simple fact that you can inspire them to know this within themselves. I do laugh that most of my sports knowledge comes from watching 2 whole seasons, binge watching Ted Lasso. But what I do know is that the best coaches aren't on the playing field. They're out looking for the best players. They're out looking at what it takes to make that team better and to get them to the top of the leaderboard. See, I don't know anything about sport. To get them to the top of the charts, to get them to the top of the leaderboard. That is their job. They're looking for the players and the strategy that will move the team forward exponentially. And that, my friends, is you in your business. You as the CEO, not you as the store manager, not you as the employee, you as the CEO. Because as your business grows, as you grow, you need to ensure that you are playing the right game. You're not in the minor leagues. I really should get my analogies right before I jump into sports, right? You're in the big leagues, and you have to be using the right metrics to measure that success. Like I said, that is something that I have really had to come to terms with. I love data. And I had all these systems in place to capture the data, but I wasn't looking at the data. And so for me, that has been one of the hugest, responsibilities that I have taken on in my job as CEO. Here's the thing. The business has grown exponentially since I've done it. So when you first started out, you probably measured your success in terms of how many products you managed to get uploaded onto your website or into your POS, how many things you crossed off your to-do list. But that isn't where you are now. Your success needs to be measured in much bigger volumes, not on a product by product basis, but it needs to be based on things like profit margins or overall sales or increased average order value, increased items per basket, increased traffic to your website. You are not in the mini leagues now. Like, you're not in the kids game. You have to step up just to the next level. And you're going to be able to do that by leaving some of the things behind that have got you to where you are now. But those same things are not going to get you to where you need to go in the future. And maybe I'm talking about tech. Maybe I'm talking about people. Maybe I'm talking about you and your beliefs. Or maybe I'm talking about who you surround yourself with. I don't know what that means to you. Only you know what that means to you. The best teams at the top of the ladder always have the best coach. And that's why these people get headhunted. That's why they're getting poached by other teams. They have the best players, but they also have the best coach. And that coach is you in your CEO role. It has to be, because you are the reason this business exists. You need to create the culture, just like a coach does in a sporting team. If there's a player who's toxic or not pulling their weight, they have to get outed. They get traded. They get let go. Again, I'm taking all of this from Ted Lasso. But I know that this much is true. I do know a little tiny bit about sports. But all of this is the coach. How the business performs is you as the coach, you as the CEO. How the team performs all comes down to the coach. If the team is great and they're not hitting the goals or the marks they need to be, the coach gets shafted. Is that you? Right? Or is it you stepping up to be the best leader that you can be? So I wanted to dip into the recent archives and pull this episode out, because what I do is to help you turn what is probably a job for you right now into a 7, 8, or potentially even 9-figure business for some of my one-on-one people. But if I can get you to that next level, I want to do that. Whether it's just you listening to the podcast, whether it's you coming in and doing one of my programs, whether it's you coming into my mastermind, or whether it is you coming to work with me one-on-one, that's irrelevant to me. The fact is, the options are out there. If you don't have the money, there are 480 episodes of this podcast that can help you. Or we have low value products that you can jump into for like $10, $20, or you pay more and you invest for access to me and my team. That's up to you, how much you're prepared to invest into your business. But even if you are just at the point where this podcast is what it takes for you to move your business forward, I'm happy with that. So right now, hopefully you are taking a breath before the next rush happens. And in this downtime, you're thinking about what the future holds for you. Let's jump in to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, pulled from the archives, about how when you want something great, you might have to leave something average behind. And I would love, love, love it if you could reach out to me, maybe in a DM or comment on a post on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, and tell me if this inspired you. Tell me if it caused you to take action. Tell me what feelings it evoked. Just let me know. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. I'm Selena Knight, and if you're looking to stop winging it in business and to build a store that fills your soul and your bank account, then you have come to the exact right place. Now, today's episode isn't going to be filled with strategies that you can use to grow your business. Today is Confession Day. That's right. I have a confession to make. And I'm sharing this with you because I feel like there might be a lot of people listening who have this same confession that they have been keeping hidden. On the outside, it all looks rosy, but deep down inside, there is a secret that they don't want anyone to know. So this is my confession. My name is Selena Knight, and I don't have a lot of friends. And if this is your confession too, you can just do a silent little nod and know that I am with you. So here's the thing. I've never had a lot of friends. Even from when I was a child, we used to move around a lot. I mean, sometimes we would move house every 6 months. I worked it out once. I think I went to something like 9 or 10 schools in 12 years. But that's only if you count the school that I went to twice as one school. Otherwise, I went to like 12 schools, 11 or 12 schools in 12 years, which is just ridiculous. I mean, how can anybody make friends if they're at a school sometimes for 6 months or less? Now, something else you may not know about me is, as much as I like to talk, and I will talk to pretty much anyone about anything, I'm the kind of person who, when you sit next to me on the bus, I will have a conversation with you. You've got to put your earbuds in and pretend that I don't exist for me to not want to talk to you. And as much as I am an extrovert and I love being around people, and clearly I love to talk, I never really had that ability to make friends easily. Like my best friend, who I was friends with from about the age of 11 or 12, she was one of those people. She was funny, she was a little bit quirky, and people loved to hang around her. She actually went to that same school that I went to twice, and through all the things that happened in our very tumultuous lives, we always had each other. And so we always kind of found our way back to each other. In that school that I went to twice, and one was in year 7 and then again in year 11 and year 12. So you can imagine year 11 and 12, it was a public girls' school. It was in a pretty lower to middle income area. So lots of people doing it tough, lots of cliques, because by the time you get to year 11 and 12 at school, you've had friends for 11 or 12 years. And my friend Michelle was just great at attracting people, whether it was from her comedic humor or her quirky jokes that she used to come out with. People just liked hanging around her. And so by default, I ended up with a group of friends because, hey, we were besties. So everywhere we went together. And so I ended up with this small group of friends, but they weren't really my friends. I mean, they were kind of her friends, and I just happened to be there. So all through those school years, I guess I felt like I never really fit in. And I guess that kind of carried over to adult life. So when I left school, and at this point, I'd also left home and was living with my boyfriend at the time's mother. Long story. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that story. But when I finished high school, when I finished year 12, I moved to a very, very different neighborhood. I moved from that kind of lower to middle income out in the suburbs. Everybody has the 3-bedroom, fibro house, to the inner west of Sydney, where people had tattoos and piercings and wore lots of black and listened to lots of music and went to clubs and did all the things. It was so eye-opening for me, but also such a cultural shock because nobody fit in that suburb. Everybody had groups of people who just by default you fit into because maybe you liked the same music or you dressed the same way. And I found that to be that fresh start that I needed. And I did collect a few friends along the way. And I'm sure when you look back at your life, you'll probably see that this has happened for you as well. As you get a little bit older, you get a little bit wiser, your priorities change. And when I was hanging around, living in Newtown with my friends who some of them didn't have jobs, some of them just like to sit around and smoke pot on the weekends, but that wasn't me. I loved to be out there doing things. I'm an action person. I can't think of anything worse than just sitting around smoking pot. And so I outgrew those friends. And here is the title of the podcast, which is To Create Something Great, You're Most Likely Going to Have to Leave Something Average Behind. And you can think of it as simply outgrowing that stage of life where you're at. So I left behind the pot smoking hippies and I ended up buying my own apartment. And that was something that never even entered the minds of the people I was hanging with then. But that was something that I really, really wanted. And I knew that for me to achieve that, I was going to have to leave these people behind. And this seems to be a recurring theme throughout my life. So when I moved into my own apartment and I had a great job, I met my next best friend when I was in my 20s at, of all places, kickboxing classes. Hey, I did say that I liked action. I do like to be active and out there and doing different things. So I met my nextest best friend, if that's what you'd like to call her, Rachel, when I was in my 20s. And we got along so well together. We were like the odd couple. She loved to go out. She was always the life of the party. And she'd push you out of your comfort zone so that you had lots of fun. But she also didn't have 2 cents to rub together. So I, on the other hand, I had my savings, I had my own apartment. I was the nerdy kid who kind of had their life together. So she pushed me out of my comfort zone to actually enjoy life a little bit more. And I helped her to build that nest egg, to put together a financial plan. I sound so boring and geeky right now. I trust you. We didn't sit down with spreadsheets. It was just what happens. It's that osmosis of hanging around with different people. You take on some of their traits, you take on some of their beliefs, and hopefully it all works out for the better. So fast forward, a decade or so, and as much as I'm still friends with Michelle and Rachel, we grow up. People move away. We have kids. Life gets in the way. And so when I had Lana, I found I fell into the same rut all over again. I didn't have anything in common with the mums groups because I was working. I ran my own business, and a lot of the ladies at school were able to stay at home, which is great. I loved working, but I didn't have a connection with them because I was at work and they were at home, and I didn't want to even be at home. So it's not like I even felt like I was missing out. I don't know, is that something that you felt as well? This I think this is why they say owning a business or being an entrepreneur is so lonely. It's because nobody else really gets you. They don't understand that drive and that passion and that determination that we have. And the fact that it's not a business and personal life thing, it is part of our DNA. So it all kind of meshes together. So I will put my hand up and say, I have not been a wallflower. I have put myself out there to try and find more friends. I've tried business networking groups, but you know me, I'm opinionated and I really like helping people. And sometimes that need to help people to fix things can come off as being a little bit bitchy. I'm really enthusiastic and I'm super passionate, which means sometimes I guess I can feel a little bit overbearing and I can get a little bit loud. And that's not for everyone. I also know that I like the things that I enjoy is I love renovating properties. I love money. I love what it can do. And I love being able to make it and create it and help other people make it. And I mean, I'm sure you can hear in my voice how excited I'm getting about this stuff. I am just as comfortable talking about replacing subfloors and tile pattern combinations as I am talking about automated funnels and customer journeys and customer lifetime value. When you're passionate about stuff, it comes out. So this is the trick, isn't it, to finding friends, is you have to find other people who have this unique set of interests that will alienate you from so many other people. And just to put this in perspective, as a mum, it can be difficult to make friends because, and one of my friends actually said this to me, is you end up with this dynamic where in a family, to have those really great friends, the ones that always come over for dinner, the ones you go on holidays with, you have this triangular dynamic that you have to fulfill. You have the wives have to like each other, the partners have to like each other, the partners have to like the partners of the other person, and the kids have to like each other, and then the parents of the other family have to like the kids. Hopefully you've kind of got that in your head. You know what I'm trying to say. But when one of those doesn't work, then the dynamic is off. And it can be quite difficult to be able to separate being a person and a business owner from being a mum and a partner. And sometimes it just feels like it's way too hard. But I am nothing if not determined. And I was going through one of those phases just before COVID where it was like, you know what? I need to find some new friends. So I joined a local Facebook group of ladies all around my age, and there's loads of different events, everything from going for a walk to going surfing to going to the movies to going to dinner. And I went to one of the dinners and I had loads of fun on that first, in air quotes, date. But then COVID hit. And so we did nothing. We all did nothing. For pretty much 2 years, we did nothing and we saw no one. Now, all of you introverts probably love that. Me, not so much. So it doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. The fact is, we need to have people around us that support us in different areas of our lives. I've talked on the podcast before about having a business advisory board, having those people that you can turn to if you've got a financial question, if you've got a marketing question, if you've got a growth question, whatever that is, looks like, you put together your business advisory board, but you probably should have, we all should have, a personal advisory board as well. That group of people, like when we were teenagers, that we turn to for different advice about different areas in our business. And so my husband is like the biggest cheerleader. He will always tell me that I can do something. I know that I am so lucky to have him. And I also have an amazing team, some of which I have been friends with for over a decade. But I've lost that tight inner circle. So this year, in fact, last month, I decided that had to change. And I didn't know what the answer looked like. What I did know was that I was floundering. There was so much growth on the horizon. We were doing some great things. If you've been listening for a while, you'll know all about the government tender and lots of other opportunities that we're currently working on. but I felt like I was paralyzed and I couldn't make decisions. Now, maybe that had something to do with the fact that I was almost paralyzed. When I hurt my back early this year, I was completely incapacitated. I could hardly walk. And of course, when you're in lots of pain, you can't make great decisions. But what I found was that scenario, it dragged me back into playing small. I really struggled to make big decisions. I knew what I wanted, but I was always playing it safe. Now, the good thing is, I know what that looks like. And so I was able to put my finger on it and pinpoint it pretty quickly. I know I have a really big vision for what I want to achieve in life, and I know that I need help to pull it off. And I also know that as a human, I like talking to people who nerd out on business stuff, who are totally okay talking about money and funnels and customer acquisition and buying and selling property. I want to have those friends who get me and who are also doing great things so that when I'm around them, I'm inspired, not feeling like I have to be someone that I'm not. I want to be around people that lift me up and push me out of my comfort zone. And maybe right now you're nodding along with me. Maybe some of this does resonate with you. Maybe you're going through the exact same thing. And here's the hard part is, like right back at the beginning of the story, you get to a point in your life where you outgrow where you are right now. And it's something that I see a lot of business owners struggle with. Because to do something great, to be something great, you're going to hit that point where you have to leave something average behind. And so many business owners, I see they outgrow their life. And that might be their friends, or sometimes it's even their family. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that it's a problem that I've had with my family. My dad feels very alienated by the fact that I've built something for my life, that I have a nice house and I have a nice car and I go on holidays and I make money, because we grew up really, really poor. And he is still quite poor, but that's his choice. He doesn't want anything else. Trust me, I have tried to get him, I've tried to help him, I've tried to get him to change his mind, but that's not what he wants. And that can be so difficult when your family don't get you. And if you have a family like mine where these money problems, these money issues, these money beliefs are so deeply ingrained that the minute that they're confronted with money, in whatever shape that or form that looks like, sometimes it's even just success, those people start looking for any excuse to bring you back down to their level. And it is so painful when it is your family. Here's the other thing. As your business grows, as your confidence grows, and as you become more successful, there will be people who want to shoot you down. But to do something great, to create something great, you have to leave average behind. Now, it's not just friends and family. Sometimes it's even your team. Someone who was a great part of your team at the beginning just isn't right for where you're headed. That's okay. That is part of business growth. Remember, what got you here will not get you there. And sometimes that is people, sometimes that is your own beliefs and even your own value. As you grow, what you want changes. And you don't have to be sorry for that. You have to embrace that. So as I wrap up this episode, I don't have any strategies for you. I will say that the ball is in your court and you should go and find the people that you need to take you to the next level, whatever that looks like. I've been lucky enough to, after all my searching, something popped up in my Facebook. It looked like all the things that I was searching for. It's a members club for entrepreneur, and it's all about connecting successful people. It's not a BNI where you're trying to sell your products and services to other members. And it was quite nerve-wracking to get in. I had to go through 2 interviews to make sure I was the right kind of person. And that in and of itself was very stressful because nobody wants to be rejected, right? It's all those childhood things. all those childhood fears raising their heads back up again. What if I'm not good enough? What if they don't want me? But I'm pleased to say that I did get into the club and I've already met some really amazing people. And I am super excited about what hanging out with entrepreneurs who are achieving great things is going to help me do in my business and to help you guys as well. So put yourself out there, find your people, and remember, to be something great, you're going to have to leave something average behind. If you have enjoyed this episode, if you've connected with anything that I've said, I'd love it if you could head over to your platform of choice and leave me a review. Tell me what you've loved, what you'd love to hear more of. And I will see you right back here, same time next week with a new episode. Bye. So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelena and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently or gave you some inspiration or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.